In science class, we have been talking about all of the different properties of matter, whether or not something is a physical property, something that you can observe, or something that you can measure, or if it's a chemical property, which is how it reacts to different substances. We have done labs already, kind of looking at the different physical properties of matter, such as mass, volume, density, color, shape, size. This lab today is going to be focusing on the physical properties and on some chemical properties of matter to help us identify them. So, a little background information. Different substances can be characterized by their physical and chemical properties. Physical properties include density, solubility, color, odor, boiling point, and melting point. Flammability, however, is considered a chemical property. What we're going to do today is we're going to test density. We're going to measure density. We are going to learn about solubility, and then we're also going to learn a little bit about flammability. So, what I need you to do first is I need you to write down the definitions here. So, density. You're going to talk, your definition should include something about how it's the relationship between the mass, how much matter's packed inside, and the volume, how much space the substance takes up. So, density is basically how tightly packed are those molecules or atoms inside of this substance. Solubility then, which is the second one, is going to be the substance's ability to dissolve in a liquid. So we're going to test that by taking a substance and then putting it into a liquid to see if it dissolves. And then we're going to test flammability. The definition for that is the ability to burn. So if we put a substance close to a flame, is it going to burn or is it not going to burn? So the first one that we're going to start with is density. So find your density table in your packet, and then we will get started. For density, I need to make sure that I know the mass and the volume of the substance. So we have 3 different substances that we are going to test today. I have dish soap, I have rubbing alcohol, and then I have corn syrup. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get the volume. And the cool thing is that for a liquid, in order to get the volume to find out how much space this liquid takes up, we can use what's called a calibrated container. I just pour the liquid into the container and it tells me how much space it takes up. So I have 50 milliliters of dish soap. I have 50 milliliters of rubbing alcohol. And I have 50 milliliters of corn syrup. Make sure that you're writing all of that down in your data table, that it's 50 milliliters, 50 milliliters, 50 milliliters. What we're going to do now is we need to find the mass of the liquid. However, I can't just pour the liquid onto the scale because it would run off. What I need to do is I need to set the liquid and the container on the scale. But that means that I would get the mass of the container and the liquid and not the liquid by itself. So what I have to do is I have to find the mass of an empty container. So these are the same containers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the mass of this container so that I can subtract it later. And when I find the mass, I just get to use the scale. So I put it on. The mass of this container is 68 grams. What I want you to do now, mass of the empty container, I want you to write that, 68 grams. What we're going to do now is we're going to find the mass of the containers with the liquids inside. So the first one, dish soap, 110 grams. 110 grams. My next one, the rubbing alcohol, 109 grams. Again, that's 109 grams. And then my last one, the corn syrup. That one is 138 grams. 138 grams. So in that second column, you need to write all of that data down that we just got. So tell me what the mass was for the dish soap, the rubbing alcohol, and the corn syrup. Once we have this whole table filled out, we then need to find just the mass of the liquid itself. So I need to take the mass of the container with the liquid, and I need to subtract it from the empty container, and that's going to give me the mass of just the liquid. Once I have the mass of just the liquid, I can use my equation, mass divided by volume, in order to get the density. So I'm going to take my mass, I'm going to divide it by my volume, and that is going to give me my density. Once you have all the data complete, you have the mass, you have the volume, and you have the density, fill out the rest of the packet for the density station, because we're now going to move on to the solubility station. So if you need to, you can pause the video to fill out your packet. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to the solubility station. For our solubility section, what we're going to do is we are going to take Kool-Aid, the powder, and we are going to put it into two different liquids to see, we're going to test the solubility of, one, the Kool-Aid, but we're also going to test how well these liquids dissolve different substances. The first substance that I have is water. What I'm going to do is I have Kool-Aid right here. I'm going to take 1 spoonful of Kool-Aid, and I'm going to put it into the water. Immediately you can see that it changed colors. I'm going to stir, so it's a little gritty at first. And as I stir, one, I can smell the Kool-Aid. I can smell the sweetness and the flavor. And also I can feel that the Kool-Aid is dissolving. I don't feel the grittiness at the bottom anymore. I can't see the powder that's left in here either. So as you can see, I now just have liquid. I no longer have the powder. Let's test our corn syrup now. We're going to test its solubility. So I'm going to take a spoonful of Kool-Aid. I'm going to put it in. Immediately you notice that it does not turn the red color right away as the Kool-Aid did. It's sitting just on top. It doesn't go to the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stir this now. I can see that the color is slightly changing. However, I can still see the powder within this substance. So the Kool-Aid is not dissolving in the corn syrup. It's just mixing in. But I have the corn syrup and I have the grittiness of the powder from the Kool-Aid. So this is not dissolving the Kool-Aid. This is just mixing in and leaving me with this almost paste that is really gritty still. Go ahead and make sure to fill out your data tables for the solubility section. Our last and final property that we're going to test for this lab is going to be flammability. We are going to test the flammability of two clear liquids. We have water and we have rubbing alcohol. We're going to take little paper strips and we are going to dip them into the liquids. Then we're going to place them over a flame and we're going to see if they catch on fire. The first clear liquid that I'm going to test is going to be my water. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my tongs and I am holding the piece of paper. I'm going to put my I'm going to put my paper into my water. I'm going to let it drip over the container. And then I'm going to place it over the flame. And as you can see, nothing is happening. So the paper did not catch on fire. What I'm going to do now is take my second piece of paper. I put it in the tongs. I'm now going to dip this into the rubbing alcohol, and we're going to see if this one is flammable. So I dipped it in. I'm going to let it drip over the container just to get off any excess. I'm then going to place this over the flame. And as you can see, this one did catch on fire, and it continues to burn. I'm going to just put it into the pie tin. And then what I'm going to do is just take the tongs and I'm going to put the candle out. I'm going to leave everything here to cool. And you can go ahead and you can fill out and answer the questions in your science packet.